Hello friends, welcome to my channel Invincible 697. Today we will be discussing about abdominal compartment syndrome. It's a very important surgical topic. In this we will be discussing about introduction, definition, causes, types, pathophysiology, clinical presentation, diagnosis, and lastly treatment will be discussed. So starting with the introduction, abdominal compartment syndrome occurs when abdomen is subjected to increased pressure, leading to decreased blood flow to abdominal organs and even impair lung, cardiac, renal, and gastrointestinal functions. It may even result in the death of the patient. Now, its definition. It is defined as intra-abdominal pressure when rises more than 20 millimeter of mercury and there is a new organ dysfunction or failure. In this, sustained word is very important, and also there will be a new organ dysfunction because many a times transient increase in intra-abdominal pressure occurs, such as in coughing or sneezing, and even in cases of heavy weight lifting. Normal intra-abdominal pressure is 0 to 5 millimeter of mercury. Raised intra-abdominal pressure will be more than 5 millimeter of mercury, and intra-abdominal hypertension will be more than 12 millimeter of mercury, which is sustained. This is a picture showing patient of abdominal compartment syndrome, in which the pressure of the abdominal compartment will be more than 20 millimeter of mercury and it will be sustained. Now coming to the causes of abdominal compartment syndrome. Intraperitoneal or retroperitoneal hemorrhage secondary to trauma or rupture of abdominal aortic aneurysm. Major abdominal injury which can be blunt and penetrating. Massive fluid resuscitation. Severe sepsis, pancreatitis, burns, and in cases of liver disorders and transplant. Other causes include abdominal packing during DCS, that is damage control surgery, closure of the abdomen under tension, bowel obstruction, and paralytic ileus. Now about the types, which can be primary, secondary, tertiary, and chronic, as in cases of hepatic cirrhosis and ascites. Now we will be discussing pathophysiology of abdominal compartment syndrome, how it affects every system of the body. Starting with the CNS, it increases intracranial pressure and thus decreases cerebral perfusion pressure. In cardiovascular system, it causes compression of aorta and inferior vena cava that decreases venous return to heart, which ultimately leads to decrease in cardiac output. It will ultimately lead to decreased tissue perfusion, and central venous pressure and pulmonary artery wedge pressure rises, and systemic venous resistance also rises, which leads to cardiac insufficiency. Now, how ACS causes cardiac insufficiency? Remember, cardiac output equals to heart rate into stroke volume. As the venous return decreases, it also decreases stroke volume, which ultimately leads to decrease in cardiac output, causing cardiac insufficiency. Now coming to pulmonary system. Abdominal compartment syndrome causes diaphragm compression, which rises intrathoracic pressure, causing peak inspiratory pressure rise and rise in the airway pressure, due to which compliance of the lung decreases, which ultimately cause partial pressure of oxygen decrease, causing hypoxia and hypercarbia that leads to atelectasis and acute respiratory distress syndrome. Intrathoracic pressure rise also leads to decrease in venous return. Now coming to excretory system, how it affects kidneys. Abdominal compartment syndrome causes compression of renal artery and veins, which causes decrease in glomerular filtration rate, causing decrease in urine output, ultimately causes atubular necrosis, and this causes oliguria, anuria, and even in worst cases, renal failure can be seen. Now GIT, how ACS affects gastrointestinal tract. It causes congestion and compression of mesenteric veins and capillaries, which causes decrease in splanchnic blood flow, decreasing gut perfusion, which causes ischemia, necrosis, cytokine release, and bacterial translocation occurs. This can lead to systemic inflammatory response syndrome and even multiple organ dysfunction syndrome. This vicious cycle continues, causing total necrosis of the gut. Now, what are the other effects of ACS? Decreased perfusion to abdominal wall and surgical wound leads to poor wound healing and even dehiscence. Deep venous thrombosis and pulmonary embolism are caused due to blood pooling in the lower extremity. And lastly, poor blood flow to liver and bone marrow leads to coagulation disorders and even bone marrow suppression. Remember, due to all these, a triad of acidosis, hypothermia, and coagulopathy sets in, which may become irreversible, leading to patient's death. This is a flow diagram which is showing increased intra-abdominal pressure causes decreased oxygen delivery, leading to anaerobic metabolism, which causes acidosis and free radical generation, which ultimately causes capillary leak and again raised intra-abdominal pressure. Abdominal perfusion pressure is a very good indicator of determining the perfusion to specific organs, which is calculated by mean arterial pressure minus intra-abdominal pressure. This formula helps us to calculate abdominal perfusion pressure. Abdominal perfusion pressure shows true gut perfusion, and it is always better than intra-abdominal pressure alone. Raised intra-abdominal pressure will cause decreased blood flow to visceral organs. Abdominal perfusion pressure is always better than other resuscitation endpoints such as hourly urine output. This is how grading of abdominal compartment syndrome is done. It is according to intra-abdominal pressure. Grade 1 is 12 to 15 mm of mercury. Grade 2 is 16 to 20. Grade 3 is 21 to 25 mm of mercury. And in grade 4, intra-abdominal pressure will be more than 25 mm of mercury. Now try to understand this slide. Compliance is equal to delta V upon delta P. Delta V is change in volume, whereas delta P is change in pressure. Intracompartmental hypertension causes dysfunction, which is inversely proportional to the compliance of the affected compartment. It means the less will be the compliance, the more will be the dysfunction, as it is inversely proportional to the compliance. "25 mm of mercury is the critical compartment pressure for significant alteration in the microvascular blood flow to the contents in almost all the essential parts of the body. Now coming to the clinical signs and diagnosis of abdominal compartment syndrome, which can be tense abdomen, increased airway pressure, decreased urine output, and monitoring of intra-abdominal pressure and abdominal perfusion pressure is very much needed. Remember, a high degree of suspicion is required to diagnose abdominal compartment syndrome, as most patients are bedridden or in ICU setup. Now, how intra-abdominal pressure monitoring is done? Bladder pressure monitoring through Foley's catheter, which is transvesical, is the current standard for monitoring abdominal pressure. Other ways can be transrectal, transvaginal, transfemoral, transesophageal, intragastric, and transducer, as in laparoscopy, is the gold standard. Ideally, simultaneously, intragastric and intraesophageal should also be monitored. Now coming to management of abdominal compartment syndrome, which can be divided into two parts: medical management and surgical management. Medical management will include treating electrolyte imbalances, as most cases have electrolyte imbalance. Mobility is promoted. Reducing intra-abdominal pressure by administration of Lasix, mannitol, fluid restrictions, and albumin is given to raise the intravascular compartment pressure, and soda bicarbonate can be used to treat acidosis. Neostigmine can be used to paralyze the muscles, and in cases of ascites, paracentesis, which can be CT guided, should be done. Bowel enemas are used to compress the bowel. It is important to remember that all the steps which we are taking in medical management only buys time for definitive management, which is surgical and surgical only. Now coming to surgical management, which can be decompressive laparotomy. Early decompression is recommended, followed by temporary closure, that is laparostomies, and stage abdominal repair. Now coming to laparostomies, that is temporary closure, towel clip closure, which is obsolete now, Bogota bag technique, in which irrigation bag is cut open and bag edges are cut and sutured to the skin away from the edge. Polypropylene mesh, granulated Vicryl or polyglycolic acid mesh can also be used. Now coming to vacuum assisted closure, which is comparatively a newer technique in which a sponge is placed to protect gut, suction drains placed over the large adherent steri drape, which is placed all over abdomen, and suction is connected to continuing suction unit. I will be making a separate video on vacuum assisted closure, as it is a very important surgical topic and very interesting also. Now coming to abdominal reconstructive procedures, which can be done in staged manner. In stage 1, prosthesis is inserted, which is kept for 2 to 3 weeks. In stage 2, there is planned ventral hernia and mesh is removed. Split skin grafting is used for closure, which is kept for 6 to 12 months. In stage 3, which is a definitive reconstructive procedure, which can be done by using polypropylene mesh, myofascial advancement flaps, or rotational muscle flaps. In abdominal wall reconstruction, biomaterials can be used, such as human cadaveric acellular dermis, that is alloderm. Component separation technique can also be used, which includes local myocutaneous advancement flap after extensive relaxation by incising over bilateral medial mobilization of rectus abdominis muscle, which is sufficient to close a defect of 6 to 10 cm. Other than that, modified component separation technique can also be used, which is very good for the defect of large size of around 10 to 20 centimeter. Lastly, I would like to draw your attention that since the patients of abdominal compartment syndrome are usually physiologically very compromised and critically ill, a high degree of suspicion is needed. A delay in recognition and management leads to poor outcome for the patient. And this concludes our topic. Thanks for watching. If you have any doubt, you can ask me in the comment section. And lastly, I would like to request you to subscribe my channel and share with your friends and colleagues. Thanks a lot.